from Italy. You think about it when you're all alone. Every time you feel so low, maybe we are out of time. Well, I don't know. Find it in yourself to know. You take me to the place. It's far away in space. For now, though, I feel something worth everything. Forget the lies you heard. Forget the sound of birds. Forget the chirp of doubt and face it to your grave. Find it in yourself to know.
Feels like only yesterday we were young, having fun, and we'd spend our days dancing round in the sun, doing whatever we wanted. Things were going right between us. I wish I were as free as a bird, high up in the sky. Instead, I'm here alone and sad, and have to say goodbye. Goodbye. the same. I thought that we were the start of something amazing. Were things ever right between us? I wish I was as free as a bird, high up in the sky. Instead, I'm here alone outside and have to say goodbye. Goodbye to the woman I love. Goodbye to the woman I love.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the second of our live Musical Futures Move Food TV 2021 live broadcasts. I'm delighted to welcome this morning our young musicians who are currently working in the music business. We've got Ross Bailey-Eames, composer. Hi, Ross.
Hi, how you doing?
We've got Jess Pierpoint, K-pop songwriter. Hi, Jess.
Hiya.
And we've also got Reese Cairns, who is producer. Hi, Reese.
Hello.
So we're going to put some questions to Ross, to Jess and to Reese in turn. If you've got any questions that you'd like to add and ask the guys yourselves, please add them to the chat and then we'll deal with them as we go along. So we're going to look at the work of Ross first. And just to give you an overview of what Ross has been up to in his career so far, we've got a short trailer which gives you that overview of Ross's career to date. Hi Ross, again, welcome to Musical Futures Move Food TV 2021. We've got a couple of questions that we'd like to put to you about your journey towards your current career. First of all, I'd like to start off with, can you tell us a little bit about what you remember about music at your school?
Sure, yeah. So I went to Fred Longworth High School, and I remember from sort of day one, the music department was always really kind of prominent because when I attended, it was an arts faculty as well, kind of like an arts college, I should say. Um, so there was a real emphasis on that, and I think the first thing I really did was join the brass band, playing percussion alongside Reese actually. Um, so that was kind of the first steps there, and then just through that, I got to know all the members of the music department quite well. So when it came to GCSEs, it was sort of a no-brainer really to kind of pick music and go from there. And then GCSE music was where I kind of started to compose for the first time because you had to obviously as part of the course. So that's really where that started, and then it all kind of went from there, which was really good.
Okay, great. Yes, so obviously Fred Longworth was a really sort of a catalyst really in sort of like helping you along your journey. And I know
Yeah, sure.
that there are lots of young people who are at schools that have a similar emphasis on the arts, and obviously that's very important to help students sort of like realise their ambitions. When did you actually begin to realise that music was something that you wanted to pursue as a career?
I mean, this is going to sound quite cliche, but I don't think there was ever really a time when I didn't. It was just sort of I started playing drums. Well, I started having lessons properly when I was 7, and then from then onwards, it was just kind of the thing I enjoyed doing the most. So there was never really a point where I thought, "Oh, I can't really do this as a career," you know. And I think a lot of that as well comes down to the support from the school. Um, sort of with the facilities being in place there, um, it was just great. There was a lot of support, and there was never an attitude of this is fun, but you can't really do it as a career. It was always kind of pushing you to keep practicing, keep moving forward, and then you can achieve what you want to.
Yeah, it's great to have that support from the staff, isn't it? And to know
Yeah,
that that they're doing the kind of things that all they can to sort of like make the conditions right and put things in place.
yeah, definitely.
So can you tell me about a little bit about what happened after you went to Fred Longworth? How did you go about pursuing your current career? So for example, what and where did you go on to study after school?
Sure, yeah. So I went to St John Rigby College in Wigan, and then I studied music, obviously A level, English language, and Spanish. Um, so I wanted to do 3 A levels rather than sort of an A level and a couple of B techs, just to kind of keep the options open rather than doing all music. Because I could have done, for example, A level music and B tech music tech, and that would have been the 3 slots. But I just wanted to kind of keep the options open just in case. And then when I was at college, I then decided that I definitely wanted to specialize in music and specifically film music then. So beyond that, I went to Leeds. Well, when I went, it was Leeds College of Music. It's now Leeds Conservatoire. It's changed its name. Um,
Yeah,
um,
I know it well. Been a
yes, yeah,
Leeds girl.
yeah. That's been amazing. I just graduated from there this year, and so I went on to study film music as a degree because obviously you specialize at the music college, and that's really kind of how I ended up here because the support there is just incredible, and the tuition as well. Um, and if the people at Fred Longworth were kind of supportive in a music career, the people here are just sort of constantly pushing, constantly trying to give you. Actually had sort of film work from a tutor who said, "Look, I can't do this. Can you do it?" So that's kind of the level of support and pushing to further your career that you can get.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
So can you give us a little bit of detail about the kinds of things that you did on your filmmaking course while you were at Leeds Conservatoire?
sure.
It'd be really interesting to know, the kind, if you were thinking, if we had some young people who were thinking about, writing music for films
Mm,
or for gaming, because I know that obviously Leeds Conservatoire has a range of different courses
mhm.
which sort of like support people, to gain the right qualifications,
Yeah,
experience, and get the guidance there. Can you just tell us a little bit about the course that you studied at Leeds Conservatoire?
yeah, of course. So we did. It was a combination, really, of sort of traditional like music theory, but more applicable to films, and a lot of tech as well, because you kind of had to have a good knowledge of both to do the music for film. So we did a lot of work in kind of Mac labs where we were sort of learning how to make mock-ups of orchestral music using samples, how to program that to make it sound realistic. Working with synthesizers was another thing, because a lot of film music now is kind of hybrid, it mixes the two. And then in some of the other classes, it was sort of looking at looking at clips of music to picture, and kind of analyzing why it works, what's going on in the harmony, what's going on in the instrumentation, why does it work with the picture and the story. And then in terms of assignments, obviously a lot of it was writing music to picture, and they provide you with a lot of clips, mostly from TV shows, but kind of high profile ones. So scored clips from Doctor Who, Hannibal, Westworld,
Amazing.
all that kind of stuff. So just like little 4-minute clips from different seasons. And that's, you could either do just that for your portfolio, you can score all that, or you can combine that and any outside work that you kind of pick up. So like independent films, like I've been working on.
Great. So you said that your course tutor put a few sort of like projects your way.
Yeah.
But you know, were there any other sort of like opportunities that you were able to get involved in while studying? Any other projects that you know that were sort of like either sort of like that you did independently, or that you got through your college course tutor, etc.?
Yeah, so from the beginning, they encourage you to go out and meet student filmmakers and try and get outside work, because obviously that's kind of what you've got to do when you leave. You've got to try and hustle and get your own work. So they kind of push that from the start. But we also, unfortunately, we got cancelled because of COVID, but we were planning a trip to the Aesthetica Film Festival in York, which we were going to go and obviously try and network with a few people, see some films. And just, that would have been a great opportunity, but obviously, COVID. So it was all online, which was very unhelpful in terms of networking. But as well, something that I'm doing currently is I'm part of the composer roster for Engraved Production Music, which also came through university, because that was the same tutor actually set that up. And we kind of, the deal there is we write music and everyone contributes, and we sort of create an album, and that is for companies who work in licensing music for TV and advertising mostly. So just to give an example, the albums are kind of themed. So the last album we just completed was sort of tracks for hunting scenes in nature documentaries. So we each were given kind of a different animal, and we had to try and write a track that is sort of would remind you of that animal, really, in terms of a hunt. So that's kind of the assignments that we have to do there, and that again came through university.
Right, so you've described to us the projects and roles that you've been involved in sort of like since leaving Leeds Conservatoire.
Yeah, and whilst there as well.
Yeah, and so is there anything that you're working on currently that you can share with us? That, is any have you got anything sort of like in the pipeline, or you currently starting on?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things coming up. The main one currently is a documentary based in Australia, actually, and that is I think it's about preventing child maltreatment from a young age. So a lot of the documentaries that come through are quite kind of heavy topics like that. And the one that was in the trailer as well, the disability and fashion documentary, it's sort of addressing current issues that aren't necessarily in the forefront of the media. But so this one is coming up quite soon. Looking forward to it. They're just editing currently. But the plan for that is they're going to start with a 20-minute documentary, and then use that to apply for funding for a feature length. So it would be an hour long, and then hopefully pitch that to some streaming services. So that would be great if that came off.
Fantastic. So that's the work that you're working on now.
Yep.
But what are you aiming for in sort of like the next 5 to 10 years? Where do you see yourself? What ultimately, if you could sort of like, if your career went to plan, and like thinking about COVID, I mean, obviously it's had a tremendous impact on music and the performing arts in general. But COVID aside, where do you see yourself sort of like aiming for in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I mean, I'm sure for all of us, the end goal is to make a living from just doing music, but preferably, scoring full-length feature films quite regularly, and getting paid for it. And I think that sort of the main route there are many routes, but the main route into film music is to assist a more established composer. So I think that's kind of the next aim. Keep working on projects, on the side, but then try and contact composers and see. And it's really just luck of the draw. If they're looking for someone, if they have a project that they're working on where they're under the time crunch and they really need someone to come in and just help out a little. And it's quite helpful because at university, there are a lot of masterclasses from industry professionals. So I've spoken to people before. So there's to begin with, there's at least a few people I could email, and that's where it kind of starts. And then they might say, "Oh no, I'm not looking for anyone, but I know someone who is, so I can refer you." So I think that is kind of the current plan.
Yeah. So as you said earlier, it's all about sort of like hustling for work as well.
For sure,
So
yeah.
So anyway, while we're at it, Ross is available if anybody's looking for an assistant.
Yeah, for sure.
So just finally, Ross, before we finish up, have you got any advice or words of wisdom for any young person who's hoping to work in the music industry?
I would say just go for it. Obviously, COVID has kind of thrown things a little bit into disarray, but it's also shown that a lot of work can be done online. Obviously less so if you're a live performer, but perhaps if you're working as a producer or a composer, a lot of the work can be done from home essentially. And also just if you want to do it, you need to just give it 100%. Don't worry too much about trying to have a massive backup plan to fall back on, because if you do, you'll probably end up going with the backup plan. You really need to be 100% in it. But if that's you, then absolutely go for it. And listen to your music teachers, because they'll be able to help you out, I'm sure, with advice and where to go as well. If you're in school, where to go to college and university.
I'm sure every music teacher in the land will be welcoming that sentiment, Ross. So thanks for that. So if anybody's got any questions to put to Ross, if you could just pop them in the chat now. I know that obviously this is going out during lesson time, so if it's questions for young people, we'd be more than happy to pass on your questions if you wanted to email Musical Futures with any questions, and we can pass those on to Ross and to Jess and to Reese after the live show. But as I say, if you've got any questions, now's your chance to ask them, to pop them in the chat. Ross, would you mind just hanging on while we play the trailer with Jess's overview of her career? So we're moving on next to Jess Pierpoint, who is a K-pop songwriter, and we're just going to have a quick look at what Jess has been up to in her journey so far. Hi Jess, and welcome to our Musical Futures Movie TV live chat. Ross, I'm not sure if anybody's available for any questions at the moment, so I just wanted to thank you before you go. I know you're really busy, so if you need to log off, then that's absolutely fine, and we'll continue with Jess and talk to her about her journey. So thanks, Jess, for joining us again. So we spoke just before the session, and I'd just like you to sort of like just describe to us about what you remember about music at school. If you can pick out some highlights, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, of course. I'm really sorry. I don't know if you can hear my cat. She's trying to get in. I'm really sorry. Just let me close the door. She's not making noise.
Don't worry about it. It's the vagaries of live streaming. I think we've all been there.
I'm so sorry. So what do I remember about music at school? Or just like from when I was...
what was music like at your school? What do you remember about it?
Yeah, so obviously, like I mentioned, like before we started the live stream, we had two music teachers who had been there for like, I want to say like 10, 15 years, something like that. And then actually it was when I was choosing my options for school that they left, like right when I was about to choose music for GCSE. And it was kind of hard for me at first because like I've been so used to those same teachers my entire time that I was there. So we were kind of actually helping out like the other members of staff choose who was going to be the new teachers. So it was quite fun because we got to like interview them and like have like little classes with them, and it just kind of turned out to be like who we felt that we got the most out of. So I, from what I can remember, I feel like our music lessons were kind of more tailored to what we wanted as individuals. But my favorite memory from school in music lessons was with the substitutes who we had actually, who they hired while they were still looking for someone to hire. Mr. Jones, his name was, who I actually later on in life saw at uni because he ended up working at LIPA teaching. I think he was doing like observed rehearsals and things, but I remember him coming with us on the trip to London when we went to go and watch like the musicals and things, and he'd have his like guitar on the coach and he was like singing all these songs, and I was like, he's so cool, like he's not even our real teacher, but like I want to be him when I grow up. So yeah, I had a great time during those music lessons.
So potentially you were inspired by the people that you were able to connect with when you were at school. So when did you begin to realise that music was something that you wanted to pursue as a career, or like Ross, did you always know that that was what you wanted to do?
Yeah, totally. So obviously when Ross said that, you know, it's kind of like a cliche, I would say the exact same thing about me. I've been singing since I could like speak pretty much. I always knew that this was like the only thing that I was really good at. I know that sounds like quite negative, but like it's the only thing that I've really had a real passion for, you know. And I think from a young age as well, like my family knew that I was going to be involved in the art in some way. So, you know, it was like the dance lessons or like the acting lessons. And I was like, no, like music is what I really want to do. So I would say probably I started taking it more seriously when I was about 16. I was having like piano lessons, songwriting lessons at like a college, which then I eventually went on to do my BTEC in after high school. So I'd say roughly about 16, I knew, okay, yeah, this is what like I'm 100% like putting all my energy into now.
Okay, so you mentioned that you went to LIPA. So did you go to LIPA at 18?
Yeah.
So where did you go and what did you study before then? What was your route into higher education?
Yeah, so actually my high school never had A-level music as an option. But to be honest, I didn't think I would have gone with them anyway, even if they did. I just thought that I needed to kind of branch out if it was something that I wanted to take seriously. So the place that I was having my writing lessons in, it was Rare Studio. And they were pretty much just telling me how they were going to be having this new music course, which was going to be like a extended diploma type thing, and I was going to be one of the first on it if I wanted, and it was the artist development course. So I went there instead, and I was there for 2 years. And there was actually only two other people on that course. The course no longer exists now, unfortunately, but I feel quite like proud to be able to like wave that flag for them. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I went there for 2 years and made some great like connections, some great friends. Obviously, I feel as if coming out of that, I realized that I needed to sort of level up because I didn't really have much experience in comparison to like the other students on there. But I feel like everything that I learned within those 2 years totally shaped me as like an artist after that.
Yeah. But then obviously you went on to LIPA. I mean, it's
Yeah.
quite a tough selection process to be selected to to get
Yeah.
into LIPA. So although you said that you know, you felt you needed to level up, you obviously had some potential that the course tutors obviously saw. So can you tell us a little bit about the course at LIPA? What was the title of the course that you studied, and what sorts of things did you get up to when you were studying?
Yeah, sure. So I was doing the 4-year foundation year and BA in songwriting and performance. So that pretty much like entailed like a lot of writing sessions every week. In the first year, we also had like ensemble where it was basically just us with like the other students, and then we just have to like sing a lot of different like cover songs and then have to put like a performance on. It was a lot of like co-writing. Obviously, the entire time that you're there, you're kind of like working towards like your end of year performance, which is the tube extra. Obviously last year with COVID, that was like not really a thing, which was kind of obviously hard for a lot of the friends that I started with who were leaving, because they'd all been like preparing for so long, and a lot of them had never actually had the chance to perform at LIPA. But this year I was able to do it under obviously like a lot of like the COVID guidelines and stuff. But Reese was there to help me, so shout out to Reese because he's a legend. So yeah, it was pretty much just a lot of performing, a lot of writing. You also learn a lot about like music theory, which I was like awful at, so it was like just but for me it was just a lot about like the practical things. And yeah, I really had the best time ever during those 4 years, to be honest. So
Right.
yeah.
So aside from your course, what was sort of like the extracurricular opportunities that you got involved in, which weren't a statutory part of your course? So what other things did you get the opportunity to get involved in? So did you do any gigs, or were you involved in any projects, or any sort of like, you know, so things that weren't actually sort of like part of your course? You know, what other things, you know, what did that opportunity of sort of like studying at LIPA and getting together with what is essentially you know, an entire sort of like higher education establishment, which is crammed to the rafters with talent of dance, music, art, you name it, they've got it.
Yeah. Extracurriculum. To be honest, I did a lot of the things just like independently. I wouldn't say that LIPA specifically helped me as an individual in terms of like extracurricular stuff. It was just kind of like I took the knowledge that I had from like lectures and things and just kind of used that outside. If I wanted to message someone and ask to like perform somewhere, then like I knew how to send like the right emails and things, because obviously one of the modules was like the music industry side of things. But yeah, a lot of it was just kind of like my own risk taken, I guess, because I'm quite I'm one of those people that's like, if you don't ask, you don't get, pretty much, and I will live by that for like the rest of my life, because I just feel like, you know, it's kind of cheesy, but like you do kind of miss 100% of the chances that like you just don't take, you know. So I was just kind of the cheeky one that would always send an email and be like, hi, I've got a new song out, can you play it on this event or this event, and you know, all of that sort of thing. So yeah.
I think that's great advice, Jess, because often people are very reluctant to sort of like put themselves out there. So that your advice would be, you know, get over yourself and get yourself out there. So what have you been working on since you left LIPA? What are some of the projects that you've been involved in? Obviously you've hinted about the fact that you've put forward some of your songs to be used in different projects, events, etc., etc. So could you just give us a bit of a flavour of what you've been doing, what you've been involved in since you've left LIPA?
Yeah, so actually this year I've kind of taken a step out of like my own artistry for a while. It pretty much started last year. So I've been writing for K-pop for about a year and a half now. And it's kind of crazy how everything happens with that. It's kind of like serendipity. But I have just been kind of using everything that I've been learning through writing for K-pop to kind of reevaluate like my own artistry and my own like sound. And it's been so eye-opening for me, because obviously writing for Western and writing for like Asia, it's completely different. A lot of people think that it's like the same, but there's not really any rules when it comes to songwriting for the West. It's just kind of like the standard, like, structure of writing a song. But when it comes in for like Asia, it's very like formulated, and it's very much like it has to be a certain way, it has to sound a certain way. But it's kind of made me want to step up like the quality of my own sound as well, and what I really want. And I really enjoy listening to that type of music anyway. So yeah, I've just been kind of putting all my energy into writing for K-pop now, and yeah, I'm just kind of waiting for the right time to be like, okay, yeah, I think now I'm ready to start working on my own music again. But yeah.
Well, K-pop is just so huge at the moment. It's a great opportunity to be, or a great time to be involved writing music for that, for that particular genre, if we can call it that. Obviously, there are some very very popular K-pop groups, and I'm sure that it will continue to be very popular.
Yeah.
So just to sort of like to finish up, have you got any advice, or I know you've mentioned some of the things that you would do already, but have you got any more or any further advice and words of wisdom for any young person who's hoping to work in the music industry?
Yeah, for sure. So I'd say pretty much the same thing that Ross said. You just kind of have to like go for it. I think obviously it's hard because, as you say, the past year and a half and things, it's been like a huge effect on like the music industry and like the live industry, especially. I know for me, that was one of the reasons why I decided to take like a step out of my own artistry, because I wasn't really able to do much. But there's always something that you can do like online, as Ross said as well. And I would say, even if you think that nothing's really like moving ahead and you feel like it's a really slow process, you can't really stop, because I always say you might just like stop right when something is about to happen. It is a lot of hard work. I always say to get enough sleep, because I definitely don't get enough sleep nowadays. I know that this time last year, I was just actually having this conversation with my friend yesterday. Like, even though my schedule is just like non-stop now, I'm so thankful to be where I am now and not where I was a year ago, because I was always looking for opportunities and just looking for things to do. And you really do have to give your 100% in it, otherwise, something's got to give. I guess I would say everything happens for a reason. There was something else I was going to say, but it's really annoying me that I can't think.
No, well,
Um,
yeah,
yeah.
don't worry if you come back to it. But I mean, I think that's really good advice, actually. And I think it's something that we've all learnt over the past 15 months, about that your mental health and well-being, are paramount, really, and that in order to function either professionally or personally, you do really need to look after yourself. So I think that is excellent advice.
Yeah.
So yes, you need to push it. Yes, you need to make the most of your opportunities, but you also need to know when to step back. And I think that's excellent advice, for sure. So it looks like probably people are a little bit shy on the chat, but as I say, if we get any questions, Jess, we'll pass them on to you and maybe sort of like relay them back. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming along this morning and for giving us an insight into your work and how you got to where you are now. Yeah, it sounds very exciting writing for K-pop artists, and I'm sure we'll be looking out for some of your work from some of those well-known K-pop groups in the future. So want to wish you all the best for the future, and thanks very much for coming along this morning.
Thanks for having me.
So if you need to bob out now, then Jess, that's absolutely fine, because we're going to move on to Reese now. Okay,
thank you. Bye.
So last but not least, we're going to look at the work of Reese Cairns, who is a producer, and we'll just get a quick overview of Reese's work. Hi, Reese.
Hello.
So Launching straight. This is slightly weird for me because obviously I know Reese really well, and we'll come on to why Reese and I have got a connection in a minute. But
Yes.
it's really great for you to be here with us this morning and to talk about your journey in the music industry. As we've heard from both Ross and Jess, school can be a real catalyst to sort of like helping young people think about music as a potential career, and it's all down to what how they study music in their school, what support they get from their music teachers, what the position of music is within their school more generally. So if you could just give us sort of like a quick snapshot of what you remember about music at your school, because I know that you went to school with Ross.
Yeah, so I went to Fred Longworth, like Ross, a few years before him, and I kind of went to high school not really having any clue what to expect, really. Like, you have 12, 13 different subjects that you engage in, and it's just about understanding those different subjects and finding things that you enjoy. And for me, one of them things was music. I wasn't thinking far ahead as like a career or anything. It's just something that I enjoy to do, and started to pursue really when I think I must have been like 12 years old, 11, 12, and my dad thought it'd be cool to put a drum kit in the garage, and that was kind of like where the idea of music as a hobby initiated. And that, in tandem with the facilities at Fred Longworth, was just a real match, really, because like, as Ross said, the facilities there were like superb, and like as I was there, like you could see like new Macs coming in and new instruments, and that was just like a dream to see, because it gave you so many opportunities, so many different angles to approach music from, that like there was no boundaries really. And the teaching there was like excellent as well, because the teachers just lived and breathed music. Like, they wanted students to really excel and be pushed, and like that for me was great. That was perfect.
Yeah, as you said, it's great when the conditions for sort of like a particular subject, and in this case music, are right, when you get all the things that as Jess put it, serendipitously coming together.
Yeah.
So you've got a school where music and the arts was valued. You've got some very dedicated music teachers, and you've got some fantastic facilities because of the fact that the school was an arts college, and was able to sort of like provide those. And you said that you obviously kind of sort of began to think more seriously about pursuing music as a career at the age of 12.
Yeah.
So obviously that continued, and you took opportunities in school wherever you could. But what obviously Fred Longworth is goes up to the age of 16. So how did you then sort of like continue your sort of like journey into sort of like working towards having music as a career after you left Fred Longworth? Where did you go between the ages of 16 and 18?
So at the end of Fred Longworth, I'd consider myself like an established drummer, really. I didn't really have many other skills musically. It was just kind of percussion and drums, and like, I couldn't read music, anything like that. As much as I tried, like, I've been in brass band for 4 or 5 years, and I've really struggled even to this day. So going to somewhere after high school that focused on the A-level aspects and like more kind of conservatoire, traditional music institution probably wasn't for me. So finding somewhere that was a bit more pop based, a bit more I don't want to say hands on, because they're all kind of hands on, but a bit more commercial really was my aim. And I found a place called Manchester Music Base, which was right in the centre of Manchester. It was part of Trafford College at the time. I think it's moved since then, but it was just right in the middle of Manchester, and it was a hub for a lot of musicians like me, really, who wanted to join a band and get gigs and just kind of experiment with your own skill set and network with other musicians. And it was in that time really when like I went from high school where it was music like 2-3 hours a week to music like 3 full days a week, and that was brilliant, because like you're doing something you enjoy and learning at the same time, and you're kind of on a progression, you're teaching yourself so many different skills. And that's where I was introduced to like production, to songwriting, to understanding music as a business, which I'd never really considered before because I didn't need to. But this was where it kind of my head turned, and I was looking for like I was just teaching myself the necessary skills to go forward as a professional, really.
Yeah. So I mean, so you talk about the fact that you were studying a course which gave you all the sort of like the conditions for success, but it sounds to me like you were pretty self-motivated as well. You just said that you taught yourself some of the skills as well. And is that something that you would recommend that young people do, that not just to sort of like focus on the skills and the support that you're sort of like happening more formally for you in your music course? Would you recommend that they do a lot of work out in their own time to sort of like develop their skills and skill set and sort of become that all-round sort of like musician or in whatever area that they are interested in working in?
Yeah, definitely. Because even though like education's taught me a lot about music, experience on the other hand has taught me equally as much, if not more, really, because you're in the real world, like you're seeing how it works from a first-hand point of view. And I think like in high school I was in a band that started in high school, but we saw other bands, like older bands, getting gigs in the centre of Manchester and stuff, and we thought, why can't we do that? So I think we must have been like 14 at the time, getting gigs at the Roadhouse in Manchester, and like that kind of experience at that age, it was like invaluable. And like the same at college, really, as because of those gigs I did when I was younger, like I was able to network, and one day I had like a group of like 28, 29 year olds message me when I was like 15, asking if I wanted to be the drummer in their band. And doing that at the same time as college was brilliant, because you're learning the skills internally and then using them yourself as a band outside of college. And that works perfectly, really. And with that band we got to like do festivals and go up and down the country, and like it was amazing. That was living the dream right there, really.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. That's the kind of sort of like inspirational kind of journey that I'm sure lots of young people who are watching this would be interested in for themselves. So you talked about college, so let's just delve a little bit more into that. So, like Jess, you went to LIPA, so that's the Liverpool Institute of Performing
Yep.
Arts. So obviously the entrance to LIPA is via audition. So what do you remember about your audition? Did you find it quite overwhelming or a little bit intimidating, or how did you approach the audition? Because it can be quite a thing to have to go and sort of like, it's not just about your academic success, it's about do they think you've got the skills and potential to sort of like make it in the industry based on what they're going to work with you in while you're at LIPA?
Yeah, there was a lot of nerves, and that wasn't helped when I turned up to the audition date and there was a guy wearing a suit and I wasn't. So I was a little bit intimidated by that. But once you get in there, I think on the audition day there was a opportunity to play two pieces on your chosen instrument, which was drums for me, and another session where you'd have to collaborate with other people auditioning as a band and improvise, make a piece of music with them. And in that moment, I was kind of thinking, look, only 2 or 3 people here are going to get a role here, so you've got to really step up, show that you mean business, and take the lead, really, which as a drummer isn't that easy because no one listens to you as a drummer. So I think that gave me a lot of confidence, and especially when I found out that I got a place there, I thought, all right, I did okay then, so I think I should be all right going forward here.
Yeah, gave you some confidence.
Yeah.
I'm laughing about that comment you made about nobody listens to drummer. You're absolutely right. I mean, obviously they should be the most important thing, but yeah, often the person whose voice and opinion is least taken into account.
Yeah.
So, okay, so while you were at LIPA, what were the kind of opportunities that you were able to get involved in while you were studying there? What I know you were talking about the fact that you got the opportunity to work with the band when you were a lot younger.
Yeah.
But LIPA is a fantastic melting pot of talent, and then I know from what I know about the college that the fact that it's in Liverpool, which has obviously got a very sort of established place in the sort of like the musical sort of like map of UK music. Did being at LIPA give you those opportunities to sort of like develop your links in the industry or get involved in things which have certainly helped to sort of like forge your musical career so far?
I think I'd say LIPA gives you guidance on how to do it yourself, rather than saying, here's one person who's going to help you, go and say hello. Rather than putting you in contact directly, they give you the skills for you to do it yourself, so you're not relying on them all the time. And the first thing you did when you started LIPA was to form a band, basically. And I was a drummer, a band needed a drummer, and like through that band ended up going like to Norway, because LIPA's got a really good reputation in Scandinavia, so it attracts students from all over the world. And yeah, going on tour in Norway like is something I didn't expect when I started. But I'd say it gives you the skills to do it on your own, as I said. And it's, I think the biggest difference from uni and college is you're doing it for real now. You need to start making money off it. How do you do it as a career? And LIPA was great for that, really.
Yeah, it's almost like parenting, isn't it?
Yeah.
You want your child to be independent, and that's the kind of sort of like role that sort of like you would hope that higher education institutions like LIPA would have for you. That eventually you need to get yourself steeled to make your own decisions and make your own contacts.
The teachers there as well, like they've done it themselves, so you've got people experienced giving you lectures on how they did it and how they recommend you do it, which is perfect. It's what you need to hear, really.
And also, if there's still a lot of the lecturers in these sorts of places, a lot of them are still sort of like working musicians and often have sort of like contacts which they can open their contact book for.
Exactly.
As well. Okay, great. So obviously you were at LIPA for a number of years, but it'd be interesting just to talk to you about the kind of projects, roles and work that you've been involved in since leaving education. And they've been multifarious, haven't they? You've done lots of different things.
Yeah, a fair bit.
A little bit with us now.
So I kind of started LIPA as a drummer and ended it as a producer, really. And I think that's music for you. You don't always arrive at the end point where you're expected to. LIPA, because I wanted to get involved with electronic music, really, and there wasn't that much not that many drummers in electronic music, because it's all digital, it's all like production based. So the thing I'd recommend students doing is putting your eggs in more than one basket, like learning many trades rather than focusing on just the one, because these days you don't just get a music producer and then a mixing engineer and then a mastering engineer and then session musicians. You kind of all got to be the same kind of thing, because there's so much competition now. If you can find one person who does a bit of everything, I mean, that's going to be invaluable to them. And since LIPA, that's kind of what I've been teaching myself, like learning those different trades in my own time, because you can't really teach someone how to mix a song. You can give them help and stuff, but you've got to do it by experience. Like that's the biggest factor for me, experience. Just doing it yourself, spending hours doing it in your own time. And that's what I spent a lot of time after LIPA doing: writing music, collaborating with other people, networking. With Jess, for example, we've wrote a lot of songs together that have ended up on the radio in like the dance charts and stuff, which is massive success for us. And then at the same time, because you're getting different opportunities, you're emailing people for work, you do end up getting people coming back to you for more work. For example, Musical Futures, like that's one of the biggest pieces of work I've got on at the minute. That started off as like a bit here and there, just like the odd job now and then, and now it's kind of a full-time thing. So, and it's a bit of everything as well. It's not like just writing a song. It's more than just music. It's making videos, it's voiceovers, it's loads of stuff, really. Yeah,
it certainly is more than a full-time job. We certainly keep you busy,
yes.
Reese. And,
yeah.
As you say, it's like a question. We need something to do it, and then we need to work out how we're going to do it. And it's about as you said, extending that library of skills. And I think, you know, obviously my background is in music as well as music education, and I think what you're saying is that as somebody who's wanting to work in the music industry, it's so important to build up a portfolio of skills and abilities, so that when somebody comes knocking at your door and says, oh, right, okay, well, I need this, but actually, do you know anybody? And actually, you know, if it's good if you can say, well, I can do that as well. And that means that you've obviously got the potential to have a bigger sort of like slice of the pie. So just to finish up our session today, which it's been really insightful to listen to all three of you speak, actually, but I just wondered if you've got any final words of advice or wisdom for young people who are hoping to start out in the music industry, you know, in terms of sort of like going on to sort of study a music related course at college, or anything really that you've not already said. So anything, just a little nugget of something, if you can do that.
What I would say is always say yes, because there is so many opportunities that you get given throughout your time in musical education, especially if you do like the full music at school, college, and then university, and then obviously post-university. Just say yes, because you don't know where things are going to lead. Like, I never thought I'd have a full-time role doing musical futures 4 years ago, and yet here I am. But at the same time, I bet Jess and Ross would say similar things, really. It's you never know what opportunity is going to come from where. So give yourself
I think I'd agree with
well,
that, Reese. Yeah,
spend your own time learning trade, because no one's going to hand anything to you on a plate. No one's going to just give you a load of experience like that. You've got to do it on your own. You're left to your own devices a lot of the time. So just give it all you've got, because so much competition out there. You want to be the one who gets picked for this job, who gets picked for the show, whatever. Yeah, give it everything.
Yeah, I think we all recognise that you know, the only person who can be instrumental in your success is you.
Yeah.
And if you're not prepared to put the work in, then nobody's going to do it for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you to Reese, and thank you to Jess, and thank you to Ross for some fantastic insight into their musical journeys. We're delighted that they've been able to join us this morning, and we hope that you and your students will find some little useful nuggets within there. As I said, if you've got any questions for us, please email us at info@musicalfutures.org, and we'll be sure to pass on your questions to Jess, to Ross, and to Reese. So thank you very much for joining us, and please take a look at the rest of our Move Food TV 2021 content, which you can find at www.musicalfutures.org/Move Food TV 2021. Thank you, everybody.